everybody, welcome to JK Next Garage. Today we're going to go over the body cart that we built for the 67 Pontiac Firebird and why we built a cart as opposed to restoring it off of jack stands. Also wanted to say I just kind of apologize for the length of these videos. It's just I'm trying to hit as much detail as possible for the other first timers like us, so that's why I also put the specs at the end. If that's all you want, they're at the end of the video. So hope you enjoy this. One of the reasons we made this body cart mobile is so that we could push it up against the side of the garage here so that Kelly could park her other car in here. We don't work on this every day, and we just come out and do it when we want to, or we have some time and feel like tinkering around with it. So we like to have it up against the garage, so that's why it's on rollers. I did a lot of research on trying to find body carts online before we made this, and I found a Camaro site that had some, they had runners running lengthwise this way that you put some of the weight on but didn't have anything in the back to kind of counterbalance the weight. And so that's why I kind of went with 6 wheels on this, so that we didn't have to worry about any tipping issues or anything like that. Plus, I never found one where there was actually a original, whether it was a Camaro or Firebird, on a homemade body cart with the factory points on it. So we wanted to build this to this car's original specifications and hit all the factory mounting points and show that a car that hasn't been in a major accident or anything could fit on the body cart that we made with the measurements that we took off of the spec sheets from the service manuals, and so that any other person making a body cart for their first generation Camaro or Firebird, they can take our measurements and know that proof that they do work on a factory car. So I'm glad that the specs that we used to make this body cart off of the service manual worked out. I just needed to modify the one riser in the back where the axle is for the frame rail, because that measurement in the 67 Firebird manual was off. So I referenced a 68 and 69 spec sheet. I had to put this car on the body cart 2 times. The first time we put it on here was so that I could get the risers made for the subframe underneath the front seats, so I could get the risers made for that. That way I could have them exactly pinpointed exactly where they are coming up through the floor. And then the ones in the back where the axle is, I wanted to put a set of risers to go up there for the frame rails. So now I have 3 points on the frame rails. So what my game plan is, or what our game plan is to replace the floor pan, the trunk floor pan, the firewall, and the frame rails in the back. So we'll be able to take this car off of the body cart, and then I'll be able to build the floor, the firewall, and the frame rails all off of this body cart, and then bring the car and put it back on. I'll do a little walk around here and kind of show you the body cart and explain it, and we'll go through and you'll see some pictures of how we made it, and then you'll get the spec sheets at the end. Plus, we have a video on my son helping me put this on the body cart, and that will show just how heavy duty this body cart is, because when it came down, because the pins are in such tight tolerance, or rods or whatever you call them, where they go up through the frame rail holes, and it slammed down pretty good. So this body cart is really sturdy. So Kelly and I are really happy with the way this body cart turned out, and I couldn't ask for any better help from her. We're getting this ready to go. So I hope you enjoy this body cart, and hopefully you can make a body cart like this, or if that's what you're looking for, or modify it to your needs on your car. So So my levelers right here. I put 3 of these on each side, as you can see down the road there. I put these on the end about 9 inches back from the end, and the one in the middle is in the center. This is 10 foot long, so it's like 60 inches. And then the other one is like 9 inches from that end. Why 9 inches? Well, I don't know. I just didn't want the wheel, when it's rotating, to hit this. So here's what we got, is we got 5/8 rod, or actually it's only 1/2 inch rod, that's right. I was gonna go with 5/8, but I decided not to. So what I got is I got 1/2 inch rod couplings, and I put them down towards the bottom of the frame rail, or the frame here, and that way I can use a jam nut. So when I level these up, I can just spin this up, jam it up, and it won't move, right? These I haven't welded on yet. I'm gonna, in case I have to pull them off while I'm building this thing, but I'm just gonna bring them up to here. I'm gonna tack them on the inside. That way I can use a wrench or a socket to, when the weight of the car is on here, I can use a socket or whatever to crank them up and get this thing level. If it's not, my floor is pretty level, but yeah, so I made these 12 inches long. The rod is 12 inches long, and it goes into this foot pad that I got from Zorro. I'll get a number on that, and then I put a jam nut on the bottom here so that this wouldn't unscrew either. So that's basically it in a nutshell for the levelers. I welded them on here, good, and hopefully good enough. Hey, welcome back. This is the construction of the 67 Firebird body, frame, cart, jig, whatever you want to call it. Okay, so first things first, you got to make sure your body cart is level, right? So I leveled it up off of my 2 leveling rods here. Okay, these are just 3 or 1/2 inch rod couplings with threaded rod. I bought some pads at Zorro. So I leveled it up this way, and I leveled it up this way. All right, so that way when I put my my pins up, I can level them front and back and side to side. So these are for the firewall. These are the risers for the firewall. At the factory, when the Firebirds came down the assembly line, they had holes that these pins went into, that the firewall sat on as the cart went down the factory. So I've got the factory measurements off of a spec sheet that was in the 67 Pontiac service manual. So what we're going to do is I'm going to show you what I did here to get these where they are. All right. So I know the measurement is 44 9/16 between the two, center to center. These are 5/8 pins. Actually, I ground them down just a little bit so I'd have just a little bit of play, maybe even like a 30 seconds smaller or whatever. So anyway, so first thing I did was I made these 2x2 by 1/8 inch risers at the height that they give you also, and the height of these, the factory height off of my body cart was 13 3/16, and that's what is the measurement from the top of the cart to the top of your pad. So so what I did is I made these up. I got my measurements, got my risers, everything is off the center line. So my measurement is, I got my marks on the center and the center. It's exactly 44 9/16. So let's see if this firewall fits on there. It's a Dynacorn, so Let's see if this thing fits on there. So, I don't know if you can see this, but they have these are the factory holes right here. So there's one there, one there. So let's see here. So get this one kind of lined up with that pin. Get this one lined up. I can see it. There it is, with that pin. And we're sitting on there. Sitting right on there. And I do have a little bit, I've got just a very little bit of wiggle room. So that's perfect. That's exactly how it's supposed to fit. Now that we've got these established, we will move on to the next set of factory measurements for the frame rail, front of the frame rail pins. Okay, so what we got is, I've got my 16 3/4 measurement off the center here. I like to use a stick ruler because tape measures the end, you know, adjusts for the thickness of the metal part on the end of it, and I just never trust them enough to make sure that they're real accurate. So I like using a stick ruler. So anyway, so we got the 16 3/4. I put a mark right there, and then I had a piece of flat steel, and I made sure this was level, and I just clamped it on there with some C-clamps, and I made sure that this is level, my little level, and then ran a straight line all the way up, making sure it's level at the 16 3/4. This height here is 14 3/4 off of the steel frame here, because that's the top of the pin over there. So I want to be able, when I measure, I can lay the measuring stick on here over to there, and it'll be the same plane, so you won't have any deviation of measurement. So anyway, so I level this up, so this is level, this is level, this is a straight line down to where the center of your pin has to be. So it just so happens that I took a piece of 3/4 angle and I stuck it up here, and I marked it with center marks and stuff, and then I just clamped that on there. Clamp that on there. Now I can set my measuring stick right on that mark there. That's the center of the pin, as it is at 16 3/4 right here. So, well, how do you know the distance back? Well, what I do is I'm going to take my measuring stick and go from here to the center pin. I know it's supposed to be 65 1/4 inches. So I'll readjust the camera and we'll see what that measurement is. Okay, so what I got here is we got our center right here, which we're hoping it is. Everything lined up right, leveled this way, leveled this way. I've got this on here because I'm doing this by myself. So I can set the measuring stick, which I have here. It's an old measuring stick, but I measured out 65 1/4 inches to a mark here. That way I can just set this on here, right at the corner on that center mark. And I also put a center mark on the pin right here. So that's what I'm measuring to. So actually I'm measuring from the front side of this, which will actually be the front side of this pin, which actually is center to center. So what I do is I just set this up here, line up that corner because it's at an angle right there, come over 65 1/4 on that, and I can line that up with the center of that pin. This way I can hold it. My yellow stick ruler there, that's a little flimsy, so that's why I'm using a piece of metal. So, and that's dead nuts right there, 65 1/4. So I know when I put this pin, when I put this here, I line it up with that that line there, what I do is I take the 3/4 off. Since this is level, and that's the back side of this pin, I can put that back there, that 3/4 piece back there, clamp it down, and now all I have to do is level it up. Level my riser up here with my pin on that line right there. Then I can tack it down. Now I know that's a straight shot from that pin to this pin, and that's what the factory measurements are. 65 1/4 at an angle to the center of this pin from the center of that pin. So that's how I figured it out. If it works for you, great. If not, well, thanks for stopping by, and on to the next ones.